Hey everyone, this is Clint Musser, multi-area director for FCA in Northeast Ohio, and your new camp director for the Akron All Abilities Camp. We're extremely excited for camp this year, and I'm so grateful that you've decided to join us as a volunteer to help make camp a blessing for our campers and their families. Our vision at FCA is to see the world transformed by Jesus Christ through the influence of coaches and athletes. And the purpose of this camp is to demonstrate the love of Jesus Christ by helping our campers to have just an awesome weekend of boundless fun and unconditional love. We're grateful to be able to have camp again this year at CVCA High School. And the dates for camp this year are Friday, June 14th and Saturday, June 15th. You'll find more details about the camp schedule included in the training video. We appreciate you taking some time today to review our training videos. You'll be learning from some of the wonderful professionals that help us to organize and run camp. Tristan Griffin, the founder of this camp, and our assistant director, Megan Smoke with Akron Children's Hospital, Sarah Steinley with Youth Challenge and Jacob's Ladder, and Joan Bauer with the Summit County Board of Developmental Disabilities will be sharing some important information with you that will help you better understand your role as a volunteer, what to expect throughout camp, familiarize you with all abilities athletes, enhance your comfort level of working with athletes with disabilities, and give you some useful strategies to help you get the best out of your camper throughout the weekend. Thanks again for choosing to join us for camp this year and helping to make it a great experience for our campers and their families. If you have any questions about camp, you can reach out to me at clintmusser@fca.org. We look forward to seeing you at CVCA on June 14th and 15th. Thanks and God bless.
We're going to have two trainings this year. We'll have this one and we'll have another one that is a little bit more generic in nature. Volunteers will be required to watch both trainings. So as you jump into this, please make sure that you cover both of these trainings and just dive into the materials so that we can best serve our campers well. Our goal today is to provide you with a good overview of information for camp. With that said, as we approach camp, you might want to take a deeper dive into these slides. We will send out these slides prior to camp so that you can check into the notes sections and just learn a little bit more about your camper and what to expect at camp. So with that said, we'll get started with camp. The goals for today are to familiarize FCA volunteers with their roles and responsibilities, to help FCA volunteers know what to expect throughout camp, and to provide some useful strategies to getting the best out of the athletes with whom you are working. Additionally, our agenda, for those of you who like to kind of tick things off as we go, will be first, we will talk about FCA and camp basics. Second, we'll talk about the role of volunteers at camps. And third, we'll talk about specific camp activities. And lastly, we will wrap up with safety and other concerns. And our training team today is myself and Sarah Steinley. Sarah's with Jacob's Ladder Fitness and Youth Challenge. She'll be picking it up about a third of the way through training here to help you guys understand a little bit more about camp. So with that said, I'll jump into FCA and camp basics. First and foremost, what is FCA? FCA's vision is to see the world transformed by Jesus Christ through the influence of coaches and athletes. Which is a really fancy way of saying that we minister to coaches and athletes, we help them grow in their relationship with Christ, and then we help them use their platform to reach others for the kingdom of God. And the purposes of camp. There are two main purposes of camp. One would be boundaryless fun, and the second would be unconditional love. So with respect to boundaryless fun, if a camper wants to participate in an activity, we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. Okay, we will not force a camper to do anything. Camp is about the campers. And as volunteers, our role is to assist the campers as needed to engage in camp activities. And if a camper wants to run around the football field all day, assuming that he or she is not interfering with other camp activities, then that's what we will help him or her do. And with respect to unconditional love, the spirit of unconditional love will be the foundation in which we interact with all campers, families of campers, and other volunteers. Even in the midst of competition, for some of you uber competitive people out there, we're asking you to compete in a spirit of love. The number one goal of camp, far and above sports and activities, is that every camper walks away feeling protected, loved, and encouraged. And as we learn in the Bible in Matthew 22:36 through 40, Christ gives us the top two commands in all the Bible: love God and love neighbor. And so with that in mind, I'm going to show you guys a quick video to help us capture the concept of love that I'm talking about for this camp.
We wrote because Jeff was going to have a spinal fusion and be in a what they call a halo,
Cast, a halo
metal
cast.
rim, and then cast on his shoulders and bolted
All the way down his
together.
trunk.
And, yeah,
We
he may
weren't
not
sure.
have survived the surgery. And so we said, what would you like to do? This is going to be a really big task for you, and so we want to kick it off with something that would be really special.
Mr. Rogers?
Hey, Jeff. I'm glad to see you.
Hi.
Thank you very much for coming by. Can you tell my friends what it is that made you need this wheelchair?
Sure. Well, when I was about 7 months old, I had a tumor, and it broke the nerves to tell my hands and legs what to do.
I see.
And I got a wheelchair when I was 4 years old.
That was your first one when you were 4.
Uh-huh.
He told Jeff before they started that they would have a chat and then sing a song together.
I think he said we might sing a song. I
Yeah,
remember because
yeah.
I was sort of surprised. What, he's going to start singing a song? Well, this is totally not even what song.
It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. But it's you I like. The way you are right now. The way down deep inside you. Not the things that
hide you.
not your fancy chair. That's just beside you. But it's you I like.
Every part of
you. Your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like. It's you yourself. It's you. It's you I like. And it is you I like, Jeff.
Thanks.
And there must be times when you do feel blue.
Uh-huh.
I'm not feeling blue right now, though.
Me neither.
I'm so glad that you came today.
Thanks.
I remember asking one of the staff people that was there, well, what do you think? Did it go okay? So, don't. This is good. This is good.
He had his surgery, he survived. Certainly Mr. Rogers had an impact on who Jeff became, his sense of self.
And the camp schedule for the day, this has changed a bit from last year. So day one, volunteer arrival will begin at 4. At 4:30, we'll have a pre-camp volunteer huddle in which the volunteers gather and we just learn a little bit about or cover once again a little bit of what we're going to be doing that day. Our campers will begin to arrive at 4:45. Camp will begin and we'll have a welcome meeting at 5:30. And then we'll start stretching and warming up at 5:45. And our sports stations will start at 5:50. We will go to 4 different stations. Each camper will go to 4 different stations. So they'll go to football, then softball and baseball, then soccer, then general fitness or something along those lines. And then at 7:05, we will wind down and have our spiritual lesson. And at 7:40, camp will end. And then at 7:50, we'll have a post-camp volunteer huddle. And at 8:15, I'm asking all the volunteers who are able to stick around and help us tear anything down that needs to be torn down for the evening. And then on Saturday, day 2, we will arrive again at 8:30 a.m. Pre-camp volunteer huddle will be at 8:45. Campers will arrive at 9. At 9:30, camp will begin and we'll have a welcome meeting. At 10 o'clock, stretching and warm up will begin. At 10:10, the sports and activity station will begin. At 11:30, we'll do our wind down and spiritual lesson. And then at 12 o'clock, camp will end. 12:30, our awards banquet will end. So we'll go straight from camp into a large banquet facility right there at CVCA for the awards banquet at 12:30. Then the awards banquet will end at 2, and we will tear down camp thereafter, once again asking volunteers to stick around and just help us clean up and tear down anything that needs to be torn down and put away at the end of our second day of camp. And this is just a facility map for those of you who haven't been to CVCA or you're not real familiar with what we'll be doing. As you'll see, there are 3 parking lots. We're asking volunteers to park in parking lots 2 or 3, okay? And that will leave parking lot 1 available for our campers if possible. You can just walk around the back of the school from parking lot 2 or 3 to get to check in at the main field, or you can go around the front of the school as well, whichever works for you. In this picture, the large indoor facility where we're doing the banquet is not actually on this picture, but it is right there where that circle's at. And then you'll see as well, we have 2 fields. We have 1 field for campers ages 9 and under, and then the main field will be for campers ages 10 plus. So based on where your camper is, if you're a buddy, that will tell you where you're going to be going for our sports activities. And then we also just have a little bit more of a close-up there. And this is an example of what each field will look like in terms of activities. So we'll have football, we'll have softball and baseball, soccer, and fitness. And then there will be a cooling station and a nurse's station on each field. There'll be under tents, and we'll have some water jugs set up where you can refuel water, or chairs as well where people can sit down and just cool down a little bit as well. So with that said, I'm going to pass the ball to Sarah to get you guys going on the role of volunteers at camp. Sarah, take it from here.
Thank you. I'm going to talk to you about your role as a volunteer. Our volunteers for camp have come from all across Ohio, and these wonderful organizations are helping make camp a reality, and we are so grateful. Different types of volunteers. So there are buddies, station leaders, slush helpers, floaters, nurses, and general camp staff. Buddies are assigned to one camper and assist the camper as needed in accomplishing camp activities. Station leaders, slush helpers, are assigned to one station. They coordinate and execute station activities. Floaters fill in wherever is needed. Nurses handle all medical issues that arise at camp. General camp staff are in white shirts, and they oversee the camp. So they are the general camp oversight. Relay communication between volunteers. These volunteers are our troubleshooters. If you have any problems that arise, find one of them to help. And what makes a good coach/volunteer? Being a friend, being a motivator/encourager, being patient, flexible, attentive, caring, and a good communicator. Basic volunteer expectations. Show up on time, stay with your camper at all times. Focus on camper experiences while at camp. Check your luggage at the door, meaning bring yourself to camp and be ready to have a fun-filled day. Don't be afraid to ask another volunteer for help. FCA's core value equals teamwork. Do your best to not take things personally. Help with setup/cleanup equals teamwork. Attend the pre- and post-camp huddle 15 minutes before and after camp. And attend the awards banquet to cheer on your camper as well as other campers. The volunteer huddle is a time of reminding on front end and reflection on the back end. It's a good time to reflect on campers' needs, make sure goals are remembered and being met, and ask questions or share concerns. Below are some basic volunteer expectations. Show up on time, like I said, stay with your camper, and remember that you are there to help your camper have a wonderful and loving camp experience. Again, FCA's core value is teamwork, and we have to work together to make this a loving and successful camp. So if you need help with something, ask, and as part of teamwork, please help with setting up and cleaning up camp. Please plan on attending the awards banquet, and you can sit with your camper and their family at this awards banquet, and this is where you will give your camper their award. A word on phone/social media. While you're at camp, please do your best to unplug from your phone and plug into camp. Remember, our primary goal is to love the campers. We will have multiple professionals at camp, capturing pictures and videos, and posts will be made to FCA's Akron social media accounts. Additionally, we will capture a one-on-one picture of buddies with campers and a picture of all campers and volunteers that will be made available to volunteers after camp. What to bring to camp? Wear athletic wear. Shorts and pants with pockets are helpful. Wear comfortable shoes. Bring a small bag if you want to, like for carrying your campers, water bottles or any other things that they may have. And you will also receive a volunteer t-shirt. What to expect upon arrival at camp. Arrive to camp prior to the start of camp registration. This will allow significant time for check-in, pre-camp, volunteer huddle, and preparing to start camp. Parking, please park in parking lot number 2 or number 3, which are on the opposite south side of the school from the stadium. This will allow families of campers to park near the football stadium. Registration tables will be set up at the entrance to the football stadium. Find the volunteer check-in table, ask volunteers behind the tables to assist if needed. Check in and then receive your marching orders. This could include helping with setup, arriving at / familiarizing with your station, greeting campers and buddies and their family, attend volunteer pre-camp huddles for refreshers on the camp objectives, and then execute your marching orders. After camp. Once camp is over each day, please make sure that your camper is back with their parent or whoever brought them to camp. Help clean up each day. Attend volunteer post-camp huddle for debriefing on camp objectives and or concern. On Friday, as part of the post-camp huddle, you will have time to write your note to your camper, and at the awards banquet, please make sure that you sit with your camper and their family. This way you will be able to give them their note and their award. Remember, lessons learned at camp don't stop at camp. Take what you've learned at camp to advocate for, integrate, and include people with disabilities everywhere. The awards banquet. The awards banquet will immediately follow camp, with about a 30-minute window in between camp and the banquet. During the 30-minute window, please obtain an award for your camper and take it with you to your table. Campers will be seated at tables with their families. Volunteers will be seated at tables with their camper and camper's family. All campers will be recognized at the same time. During this time, you will give your camper their award and the note that you wrote to your camper. This note may be private and from the heart. It will be a great opportunity to write a loving and encouraging message to your camper. Need an idea of what to write about? You could write about your favorite memory from camp, your favorite attribute or characteristics of your camper, how your camper has impacted you / lessons that you learned from them, what you hope for your camper, and any encouragement for your camper. And food will be provided at the awards banquet. And now I will pass it back to Tristan.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to jump into specific camp activities now and what you can expect at each of our stations. So first and foremost is our soccer station. At the soccer station, you'll find a variety of different balls and different sized balls, as well as multiple different sized goals as well. And then we'll have some stand-up cones and some small cones and some flat discs. But for the most part, that's what you're going to find at the soccer station. On Friday, we'll likely do a little bit more of skills type activities. So learning to kick and dribble and pass and shoot and those types of things. And then Saturday, we will probably get into some more competition style activities at the soccer station. Next is the football station, and the football station will be similar to soccer in that there will be different sized balls and different types of equipment there. There will be some hand shields that are used for campers to, they're just thick pads that they can stiff arm or they can block or whatever. So on day one, once again, we'll have some of the basics of throwing, catching, running. And then day two, we get a little bit more into competition style as well as some touchdowns and end zone dances and those types of things as well. Football's always a really fun station for our campers and volunteers. A lot of hype going on at the football station, a lot of fun and excitement there. Our next is our baseball and softball stations. And so the pictures here give you a good idea of what to expect. You can see different size balls there as well, different types of bats. And we use tees in some cases. In other cases, we don't use tees. But ultimately, just an adapted version of baseball and softball that fits whatever the camper's needs might be. And once again, on day one, we do some of the basics of throwing, catching, hitting, and running, and those types of things. And then on day two, we get a little bit more into a competition style of baseball or softball. And then on our final station is our fitness station. And really, there's all sorts of stuff going on at this station. There's a little bit of boxing, a little bit of some fitness type stuff, even a Ninja Warrior obstacle course. And so this is just a really fun station, which often wears out our volunteers and our campers because it is very interactive and a lot going on down at this station. But as you can tell, it's a really fun station to be involved with as well. And now I'll just dive in a little bit further into the role of a buddy and just talk about what that looks like. We've got some words here to describe and help describe a buddy. A buddy would be a friend, a protector, kind of helping watch out for the safety of the camper. A buddy would be a training partner and a behavior model, and a facilitator and a mentor, and a liaison to parents, coaches, and peers, right? And so ultimately, the buddy can really get out there and look out for the safety of the camper, can demonstrate a desired skill or activity, can encourage the camper and celebrate successes, can reinforce coaching points at your particular station, can also encourage decision making, and also provide us some stability in an otherwise chaotic and multiple input type of environment. Our role of buddies for campers with non-physical disabilities. Some tips here might be to help explain activities in a 1-2 step sequence. So maybe first kick the ball, then run, right? First step, second step. Allow for more time from your camper to react and respond. Be alert for cues of overstimulation from your camper, right? Maybe their hands are on their ears or their arms are flapping. Learn the warning signs of overstimulation and help to de-escalate, right? You might pull them back from the area a little bit or use calming words and mannerisms. And don't take it personally if your camper struggles a little bit at camp, right? Once again, we're here to help the camper have fun. And we just want to do what we can to help with that. The role for buddies of campers with physical disabilities would be to use your voice, hands, and arms to help guide the camper as needed. Create a safety zone for all of the players, right? Provide balance and stability. You may need multiple buddies to accomplish this in particular situations. And then lastly, the role of a buddy in competition, right? When playing with your camper, don't score too much, right? Look for campers who haven't participated in a while. It's okay to block for your camper and kind of create space for your camper when appropriate. Suggest positioning and encourage teamwork, right? We're all about teamwork here. And when playing against your camper, challenge at the appropriate ability level, keep games close and fun, and make it primarily about having fun and not winning, right? And a final word to buddies here. Sometimes we have a situation where a volunteer has signed up to be a buddy and their camper does not show up at camp. Although we do everything we can to mitigate this happening, this is the nature of the beast with a free camp of this nature. So if this happens, we will reassign you either to help out as an additional buddy of a camper or to a particular station or even as a floater, right? And there will be a moment about 15 minutes after the start of camp where we will gather all the buddies whose campers haven't shown up, generally near the entrance to camp, and we will reassign at that point. So please be patient and flexible with us in that process. The next role is the role of a station helper, okay? So a station helper can help explain a station as needed. So for example, a volunteer might be assigned to the football station and we'll have somebody leading that station, but that volunteer, the station helper, might want to get out there and help explain it as needed throughout the entirety of camp. You will also just play your role within the station as directed by the station leader. You will also look out for the safety of campers. You'll also demonstrate desired skills or activities as needed. You will encourage the campers and celebrate successes. And you can also reinforce coaching points, right? You don't want too many voices, so let the buddy be the buddy and step in as needed. And then next is our floater role. And this is, a floater is just as it sounds, right? A floater can be assigned to anything throughout camp as needed, and their role can change throughout camp. They might accomplish something and we might have them go do something else. Oftentimes a floater will be asked to walk around camp identifying where folks might need help and to kindly and nicely ask if they'd like assistance. Buddies, please don't take offense if someone comes up to you and asks if you'd like assistance. They're just there to make sure that you've got the help that you might need. And many of our floaters are trained professionals. So oftentimes if they're asking, they just want to be a help. Floaters and everybody, all volunteers, will also look out for the safety of campers. Floaters can also help demonstrate a desired skill or activity and encourage campers and celebrate successes and all of those other things that other volunteers do too. And lastly, we will dive into safety and other concerns for camp. Okay, so we do have some medical concerns that we want to go over and just be aware of. Okay, ultimately, we will have camp nurses at camp, so we're not expecting our general volunteers to be educated or responsible for any of this, but at the same time, we want volunteers to understand the possible things that could arise and to act quickly and decisively should a situation arise to take their camper to the camp nurse. Okay, so some things to pay attention to. Potential heat exhaustion. You guys know camp will be in the middle of June. It will likely be warm out, and so making sure that your camper is not overheated is really important. And if that seems to be the case, maybe go visit the camp nurse or go even to the cooling station where there's water and chairs and shade, and that can really help out. Seizures are another thing to pay attention to as well. Anaphylaxis or an allergic reaction, right, is another thing. So, you know, bees or nuts or those types of things. We're not serving any food at camp other than at the awards banquet, but just something to be aware of. Of course, minor scrapes, cuts, and abrasions. This is, you know, it's a sports camp, and so these types of things happen. And so once again, if this happens, just escorting your camper over to the camp nurse. Eloping and running, which is something that you might see in the realm of people with intellectual disabilities and oftentimes people with autism, if they are overstimulated, might take off running. And so just something to be aware of. We will have fences around both fields, so that will help with that challenge. And then also tantrums and meltdowns. Just something to once again, overstimulation can cause meltdowns in some situations. And so just something to be aware of. We will have a mobile sensory bus at camp, which I'll talk about in just a second. which can help with those tantrums and meltdowns as well. When a non-medical concern arises at camp, okay, what our process should look like is, one, identify the concern and communicate with the camper if possible and needed. Ask questions, right? Hey, what's going on here? How can I help? Those types of things. Second, identify the support or supports needed. Once again, always obtaining the camper input if possible and needed. Third, create a plan of action. Fourth, follow through on that. And if you find yourself unable to overcome the concern using the plan, please find one of our lead volunteers, right? They will be wearing a different colored shirt at camp with the All Abilities logo on it. Ask him or her to assist you in that. And if between you and the lead volunteer, you're unable to overcome the concern, please escort the camper to the nurse's station so the nurse can call a parent of the camper and or me to help solve the challenge that's going on. And like I mentioned, we will have a mobile sensory bus at camps. Of you that are familiar with the concept, this is like a sensory room on wheels, right? And so ultimately, Inclusioneers and Summit DD have teamed up to provide families with a calming space for people who can become overly stimulated at public events, right? The bus is designed to calm and filter sensory overload and engage all senses so individuals can be better prepared for learning and interacting with others. So ultimately, this is an opportunity. We've got here some notes from one of the folks who helps out with the sensory bus. She says, imagine a softly lit, quiet space filled with captivating lights, soothing sounds, and flexible seating. Discover the sensory bus, an intervention that provides a quiet place at community events, camps, and other community gatherings where an individual can go to prepare for the event or to cope with stress during the event. The sensory bus may be where an individual starts his day preparing for activities that lie ahead, or it might be where an individual goes to throughout camp to kind of reset and then re-enter back into the event. And so some strategies for how volunteers can help. One, just prepare the camper for what is going to happen, right? First, then language. Once again, first, we're going to walk to the bus. Second, we're going to get on the bus. And talk to them about the new sensory experiences that are going on inside the bus. Once again, second would be never force sensory info on a camper, right? Once again, we don't want to force campers to do anything. If they refuse, think of ways to modify the activity or change it, or just avoid the activity altogether. Lastly, honor the camper's response, right? If the camper says, I don't want to do that, just honor that and move forward. So with that said, we've got one last slide here. It's bathroom breaks. So there are 2 bathrooms on campus. One is right here where you see the little red dot right next to the main field. It's actually between the 2 fields, right next to the concession stand. This is the most often used bathroom. And then there's a bathroom over here where this other red dot is, which is a porta potty. And so for these types of things, we are going to have bathroom breaks handled by parents of campers or by specifically trained volunteers, right? So if your camper needs to use the restroom, escort your camper to the nurse's station so that the nurse can call the parent of the camper, or so that the nurse can take the camper to the bathroom if permission has been given for that, okay? So that's our plan for bathroom breaks.
Thanks again for taking some time to watch our training video and learn more about what to expect at camp. In our next video, you'll become more familiar with All Abilities athletes and various disabilities that you might encounter, improve your comfort level in working with athletes with disabilities, and gain some useful strategies to help you get the best out of your camper throughout the weekend. At this time, I'd just like to take a moment and just thank our sponsors, without which we wouldn't be able to do this camp. So thank you, sponsors. And lastly, once again, want to thank you for joining us for camp this year and helping us to make this a great experience for our campers and their families. God bless, and we're looking forward to seeing you on June 14th and 15th.